since we don't have any form yet. But we can discuss what's going on with the comprehensive plan.
I think we're all done with our chapters other than maybe getting the numbers in effect. And I don't know if we want to just like abbreviate and cut a lot of stuff off the transportation chapter that we didn't do anything with, we just dropped.
Well, what's your thinking on it?
I could go through. The only thing that we would need is what sort of increase was there in our own township roads?
None.
Well, then it's going to be real easy. All I do is cut it back to a page and a half.
Yeah, and do it. Because as far as I know, there were no
a lot of it was, we need to address 11 and 15 corridor for safety reasons. We have to build the bridge out here over Sherman's Creek.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else, is already done. The only thing they have in there on the HATS plan is something about down by Perdix and the traffic light. Now, what's Pee Wee Lane? What's the problem with Pee Wee Lane coming onto 274 in the HATS plan?
It's not the greatest intersection in the world, but
the whole time I've lived in here in 20 years, I know of one.
The township access, trying to see somebody coming up the hill,
is worse than coming out of Pee Wee Lane.
Because you can see the headlights coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot worse than Pee Wee.
Now, Pee Wee Lane will be the next, that street's obviously going to be affected by the red light going in. Whether positively or negatively.
Yeah, well, it'll slow down the traffic to the speed limit of 45.
That's what I would think in that area.
I'd say positively if you're turning right and heading down the hill by the traffic light because you can time it against the light, but negatively going up.
Yes, because you won't have to stop anymore. You could go around without going into the ditch and turning your car over like they do.
Yeah.
The thing I found back in 6, I think it was, as we go through the minutes, there was something where we said there was a
Yeah.
Here it is. On chapter 6, not 5, page 2, paragraph 1.
Okay, that's January 11th.
Yeah. The wording there should be not lower. The vacancy rate was higher, not lower. Penn Township at a vacancy rate of 3.6. Duncannon and Wheatfield have vacancy rates higher, 6.4 and 10.2%. Right? Wouldn't that be right? If the vacancy rate is 6.4%, isn't that higher than 3.6?
All right, if you took in here and says the vacancy.
But that's right. That's probably what we said, because that is what is in chapter 6.
Yeah.
So we don't have to correct the minutes. What we have to do is go back and correct chapter 6 the way it should be.
It should say the vacancy was lower than neighboring.
No.
If you.
Oh, the vacancy was. Okay, the vacancy was lower than neighboring Wheatfield. I was reading that the vacancy was higher in, but you're right. The vacancy was
lower than neighboring.
Put a than in there.
Yes.
Okay.
And that'll cure it all. Okay.
See how
between
negative
lower and
I am?
neighborhood.
I always go negative instead of positive.
Apparently retirement has not set in yet.
Okay. So then we go from chapter 10 to chapter 12 without a chapter 11.
Yes. Well,
I don't know if we have a chapter 11. I think it's just chapter 12 ought to be 11. But if we put in a new transportation one,
do you want me to get in my book and see whether we have an 11 that was just not modified?
no. The numbers started changing back when we dropped the transportation chapter.
Okay.
So all those numbers started falling down, and then when we got to modifying chapter 12, which was chapter 12, we left it as chapter 12 instead of dropping it down to 11.
So,
But if I do the transportation chapter, then that's going to bump them all up, and that'll stay 12, and all the rest will jump up.
well, it's probably a smart move to put the transportation chapter in, even if it's a short one, because we know we can't affect the transportation in Penn Township that greatly,
And all
with the majority of it being 11 and 15.
Take stuff out of the hats, and Penn Township is redoing their comprehensive plan, but they haven't done the transportation one. So all I'm going to do is take wording out of their 2007 comprehensive
Yes.
plan.
Yeah. That sounds right.
Unless I could go up there and ask the planning commission for the draft of the transportation section. If they don't have it on the internet. But I can't see for our township where we're all involved in transportation within the township. We're more affected by all the other surrounding in Harrisburg.
Yeah. The only thing Penn Township was trying to do, which the PennDOT skirted us on, was put that access drive down there along 11 and 15 at Sheets and Dollar General, and
Yeah,
and then then they turned around and gave them a highway occupancy permit. After we started building a drive, laying out a driveway
off
for
of the main highway
to
between.
cut down the number of ins and outs. PennDOT gave them a highway occupancy permit, and there went the access road to those lots. Whether there's any point in dealing with that again.
And I guess we could mention the traffic light at the Hudson Falls entrance there, the park entrance
Yeah.
in the transportation thing.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt, because it is a major
Development.
modification to development, to where we are right now. Whether it's positive or negative remains to be seen. I can tell you one thing, they're
The
gonna have to
other thing I
maintain.
couldn't figure out in the hats is something down along Perdix on 11 and 15, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I still have to go back, because they use all kind of abbreviations in that, and I found it in the table. Now I gotta go back into the text and find out what their abbreviations in the table were referring to.
Okay. With the work you've done on the comprehensive plan, how soon do you feel that we're gonna be ready to send it back to the supervisors?
All we gotta do is, if I modify that one chapter on transportation, that's it, until we get a update for payment for the engineers to do the second part of the plan, which is the future.
I don't know whether it's the future or the existing land use, and that's done.
Well, it's.
We're waiting for that to come back, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know, did they do comments on it from the county? Did they address them? I thought the supervisors had to put more money into the contract.
On the current land use. That was the last part, right?
Yes, we did that.
Okay. They supposedly have that done.
Yeah.
Ellen told me today that the engineers have completed the current land use map,
Okay.
the modifications to that. So we could look at it again, but I don't think, I mean, we tweaked it twice. I don't think we need to tweak it again. They supposedly completed that. Now, I thought Max or Frank was going to be here tonight
Yes,
with
Frank
that.
is supposed to be here.
But I didn't see them yet, but that's planned supposed to be.
Yeah, so that might not be a chapter, might be like a whole second part of the plan. Where they're projecting, you know, they're putting in the Pennsylvania land development ethics stuff, what did they call that, the Penn plan or something?
Yeah.
Comments.
Yeah.
And then saying that we only
The
need
Keystone-
so many future
Keystone Initiative
residential-
Plan? Was that the Keystone Initiative Plan?
something like that, the Keystone, something or other.
Were we going to try to include more verbiage on renewable energies?
Well, if you look at my pages here, stuff from Oregon.
It says here, Chapter 1 deleted, now known as.
Forget
Conrad.
that.
Yeah.
I think I looked at an earlier version of Chapter 1 where we did not modify the Norfolk Southern and Penn Central language, but we did in a later one.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, there we go. So this is all the notations that are currently in there.
Okay.
In the introduction, we encourage public and private actions which will decrease dependence on non-renewable external fuel sources and encourage the use of renewable energy resources.
Mm-hmm.
So in Chapter 8, we go through things about some of the things that could be done for alternate energy sources and systems. And Chapter 10, one of our objectives is to encourage public and private actions which will decrease the same thing sources and encourage the renewable energy. So in Chapter 12 then, the same thing there. So we should develop and adopt appropriate regulations to regulate commercial and non-commercial alternative energy sources, solar, wind, and outdoor boilers. So that's the recommendation for energy.
And that would be just what we need in the comprehensive plan as a recommendation to adopt.
Right.
Right.
And we go back and change the zoning and the subdivision and land development ordinance.
Yeah.
Include that.
Okay, that sounds good to me. So this
that's
is
what
a done
all
deal.
the rest of this then is
Yep.
what I was digging out of, like Manheim Township in Lancaster County.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the stuff that I got out of here came from their Saldo and zoning. So this is stuff that we could look at when we go back and after we forward on the comprehensive plan and go back and start looking at subdivision and zoning again. After we figure out what we're gonna do with the sign.
Yeah. If we live that long.
So the only thing, I think I had a sentence or something, and I forget where I was gonna put it, about, and is it in Chapter 12? No. I'll have to find out where I was gonna put that. I haven't looked at this since we didn't have the last meeting.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it since before that. And I had just like, here you go, Chapter 10, Economic Goals. So this is the sentence that I want to put in Chapter 10.
Go good by me.
Please. Thank you.
Sounds good.
So that's the only thing I wanted to put in chapter 10, go back to chapter 10 and put that in. At the end of economic goals in chapter 10. Took me 2 days to come up with that sentence.
Sounds fine to me. And the next one is the suggested, or is this an existing? No, that's a suggested one.
Yeah, this is
New-
from there on
very-
in.
yeah.
It goes into the subdivision and land development ordinance and the zoning ordinance. When we get back and put that language in there. But all the rest of this stuff here, this is why we should do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why we should put that sentence in here and then start changing our land development and zoning to address those types of association.
Yeah, it looks like a good idea to me. I did read this, and I didn't see anything, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was a good idea.
So chapter 12, we have all the corrections in. I didn't see anything in addition to chapter 12. And you see what we're referring to go back and put into chapter 10.
This right here?
Yes.
Okay. I'll note that for Ellen.
I could spend a lot more time on this stuff, I don't have to go ahead.
So we're pretty well done with the comprehensive plan.
Until we see how the engine, that's part of the engineers addresses the comments by the county. I don't know that they did. Revise that last part.
Well, the county comments were, that we wanted addressed, we've already addressed.
Yes, on our.
We were done with the plan except when the new zoning came out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, not the new zoning, the new,
This part.
yes,
So, I mean, it's 1/14/13, that was after county comments,
Goodbye,
right?
you
Yes.
Queen.
Okay, so I.
You goodbye, Queen.
Yeah, we haven't gone through this, have we? Reviewed this with everybody in the workshop and say, okay, that's it.
Can you sign?
let me see that one again. No, we haven't,
Okay. So that's all I think we have left.
okay. Let me get your water. How are you doing?
Good. Time got good, didn't it?
Any better news?
No, it's just, well, she did 3 cycles. But, hey, we think it's good. What's this here? you.
Very well.
What we get to, going back to the zoning and development plan, do we want to schedule separate workshops? I don't know if we want to do that during the summer, maybe next week.
Yeah. Well, we might as well keep the 6:30 to 7 workshop going.
Yep.
Try to get muddled through some of this.
But how many parts of the zoning do we want to modify before we push it forward? We have the signs, and then we're going to go on to some of these other things and try to do them too before we...
Well, we were going to, each modification of the zoning will require another public hearing. So we have to get a bunch of the sections together to be heard at once, rather than have multiple public hearings on it. After the comprehensive plan is adopted, sent through and the public hearing's done on that, then we can start on the ones with the zoning. The signs, some of the stuff with the renewable energy. Helen has the typical list, I can't remember what it was. There was 1 or 2 things that had to be fixed in the zoning that were ambiguous in the wording. It didn't say when it had to happen, it just said, I can't remember what they were now. Without,
Things that came up by
Yeah.
zoning reviews for
Yeah.
building permits and that.
yeah. Let's just get through the signs and then we'll worry about the other ones as they come up on the list. Since we didn't convene the workshop, we don't have to adjourn the workshop. But we'll now call the zoning, or the planning commission meeting for Monday, April 7th or 15th to order, with the notice that we do record the meeting for preparation of the minutes. We're going to go out of our usual order this evening because we have a gentleman here that has a question going to the zoning hearing board, and he has to be at work at 8 o'clock. So we're going to take Mr. McKinney first. Tonight's, what you're here with the planning commission for is the building that you want to put in, and you need variances on the zoning ordinance for the setbacks.
Correct.
Our job is to advise the supervisors whether we see a problem with your idea, not to debate your idea, but see if we have a problem with it, that we suggest to them then whether they want to be, part of the zoning hearings. You understand what the point of the planning commission's review of this is?
Right.
Okay. I've looked over, and I'm sure the other members have looked over your proposal. We have some problems with the amount of setback incursion that you have. Art, I'm going to let Art say what he has in mind, and then we're going to make a recommendation to the supervisors as to whether or not they should be party to your zoning hearing.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Is there a reason why it's in that particular location being longitudinally to the, what would be that, be to the south?
That'd be the southeast corner of the property.
Yeah, but I mean, why, if you wanna put the 24 by 32 in, if you put the long side parallel with the rear,
The doors are on the narrow end.
yeah,
It's gonna be 28 by 32,
yeah.
and the doors would be facing
So
north.
if you turn the building just like this,
Uh-huh.
you should be able to fit it in there with the meets and bounds there without modification.
The building could turn that way, but the doors and the manufacturing of the building, it's pre-manufactured. So the doors would be facing east or west, and then I'd have to drive on the neighbor's property or whatever if I was gonna put a tractor or something long in the building.
Where do you plan on putting the entrance?
It'd be facing Camp Street, so it'd be
North.
facing north.
Well, if you twisted them so there would be the building, you would still, the only thing you would have to do is probably move your existing small shed there for entrance.
And all the gardens there too. Do you have a picture of the job, the site?
Yeah,
Yeah, this one. Oh,
Yeah,
oh, the aerial picture?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. on the
You're
aerial.
welcome to come on up here. And,
Let's see.
Okay, because the building basically is this,
mhm.
and they bring it in halves, and then they erect the roof, so there's no provisions that I know of for going this way. And on the interior of the building, for the structure, this would block any, if you put the doors on the sides, that's why it's,
I guess what we were looking at is, if this was turned like that and moved out this way a little bit, you would have, be able to, or just move the whole building out this way, this direction, you'd be increasing the setback. This is, on the side, there's a 15, on the back, there's a 25. What our purpose is to see if all's been done to not incur on those, that you can do, like moving the building in this direction. Or if you rotated the building, could you then enter, like, bring this edge around to here?
The distance here, this is not the scale, the distance here is actually about 10 feet.
Okay, well, that's the tricky part. It does look like there's room to do that.
Yeah, that's the,
Or you could move that small shed, over here and put your garden underneath the line, beside the shed.
it's possible. I mean, I have a fireplace that's on the
this?
property it's this.
Oh, okay.
That's made out of brick, that they put that on a foundation as well. And that's like right here.
Okay.
So
And
as
this
far as-
building right here,
Yeah,
is
that's-
this one?
Yes.
Okay. So here's the rear property line, right here.
It goes, there's a pin. And right here between, right there.
This point
Yes.
is right here.
No, that point is right here.
No, that pin's right here.
This pin,
That I was telling you about, yeah.
he said, is about right here on this drawing, on this
It's
area.
halfway between, yeah, right there.
And this building right here is this one.
Correct.
This,
That's a garden.
that's a garden and it's straight on the property line approximately.
Yes, yeah, in fact, when I first bought the property, before Eric hurt, his father Gerald owned it at the time,
Mhm.
this was just a high field, and I just mow it
little by little. And so that's what all this came about. So that was on his property. Here I'm storing some of the stuff on their property also, which has since been rectified. Yeah, the picture's about five years old.
Okay, so basically, what we're going to say is to the supervisors, we feel that some less incursion could take place by resituating the building and the garden sheds.
Now,
Or garden
PPNL
shed.
said that you can build underneath the right-of-way.
Yeah, there's, the way he explained it to me, that they have a right of way to maintain the lines, but there's no right of way that they can dictate what's on the property as long as there's certain clearances from the wires.
Yeah, and then
They
they can
want-
get access to the line from
Right.
along the line.
So they want 3 feet from their wire, which is the second one down.
The neutral.
The neutral.
Yeah,
And then he said that he doesn't know about the communication lines, but he said there's
So the
pretty much.
communication lines are below that one?
Yes, the cable and the telephone,
telephone.
and they're below that. And when I drew all this up, I didn't know what the incursions were at all. So I'm maintaining 16 feet away. I mean, I can come up a few feet, but it's gonna have a metal roof, and with the power lines going through and the wind that we get up there, I was just trying to keep the building as far away from those power lines as possible.
Because the other thing is, if you build a 1-story instead of a 1.5 stories, you could still get a 24 by 32 in, and then you could build it right under the lines.
Right.
You're going for the upstairs storage.
What's that?
You're looking for upstairs storage?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we understand where you're coming from, you understand where we're coming from. Do you have any questions on that?
No, I'm good.
So is it fair to say that the planning commission feels that the building could be moved in such a way to have less incursion on the setbacks? And if the supervisors wish to take that to the zoning hearing board, we recommend, that's our recommendation.
So I make a motion to recommend to the supervisors that adjustment to the location of the building is possible to reduce the amount of incursion on the side and rear setback.
Okay, any questions on the motion?
No.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Is there a particular number you're looking for as far as what the incursion would be, or you'd like to reduce it to?
Our job is, because the zoning hearing board now has the authority on this,
Mm-hmm.
the planning commission used to recommend the supervisors, now the zoning hearing board does. Our job is to try to see that all zoning variances are reduced where possible. The zoning hearing board has the final say on it.
Okay.
But, no, what our job is, if we see that we think there's a way that you could reduce the incursion into the setbacks, it's our job to recommend to the supervisors they review them.
And
Okay.
the one thing before you go before the board, you want to come up with why you are a hardship
Yeah,
for staying within the requirements of the setback.
Okay.
Why it's a hardship to move that building is the reason you can end up with a variance, okay? Not just because you want to, but why it's a hardship to, okay?
Right.
All right.
Okay. All right.
That's what you have to take to the supervisors and the zoning hearing board.
And that's the 9th.
Supervisors meeting is
Is the 24th.
24th of this month, and at that time, they'll go over our recommendation to them. And then they'll say, yeah, we want representation at the zoning hearing board. Then they'll go and say, we think the zoning hearing board, just like you're gonna present your argument, the supervisors will present their argument,
Okay.
okay? And then the zoning hearing board will make a decision.
All right. So would it be my advantage to go to
the
both.
supervisors meeting?
Yes.
And that's the 24th?
Yes.
At
All right.
7 o'clock.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll go back to the regular agenda. Our recognition of visitors. So anybody that's here as a visitor that wants to speak, if we're asking that if you're involved with one of the plans, you wait till the plan comes up. Otherwise, are you Mr. Schaefer?
Yep, that's me.
Okay, then and I assume you guys are here about the warden thing? And you're here to cause trouble? I mean...
Every time, it comes with me. Yeah.
Welcome. All right, so then we're going to see Mr. Schaefer next. Okay. Now, what do you have
I'm
in
here to see
mind?
about a land development waiver.
Okay.
A piece of my property that I would like to get rid of. Okay, it's the best way I can put it. Would you like to see it, or?
Yeah, you got toxic waste thrown in the ring?
No, it's not big enough to park a golf cart on, actually. I just want to get rid of it. It's a nuisance. All right, here's my deed. The piece I'm talking about, Henry was out. It's this piece right here that borders, she no longer lives there. It's Finetti now, and this is Delville Road. It's 92.06 feet along Finetti's property. Who's going to get this? And then it's about 35, I don't know what it is exactly, to the center of the road. The scale is, we figured it out today, 1 inch to 50 feet. So when we figure this line here, it'd be like 100 or something. That's the triangle I want to get rid of.
You want to give to these people?
No, Finetti,
To this person here?
right here.
Okay, so it's the piece of property joining them.
Yeah, it just goes out.
Okay, and you want to give this property to those people?
Yes.
And there's no development plan for that piece of property?
No. It's only like 35 feet wide at the most right here. Tapers down to an iron pole.
So basically, you're looking to just be able to subdivide this by giving it to that piece of property?
Right, having a deed, survey deeded to them.
Is there an access issue there?
What do you mean by access?
Well, I mean, how do they access?
Oh, no, this is their this is their backyard. See, and
They come off up here, off of,
their driveway's up here.
Oh, okay.
yeah, out onto this road where it comes up around here.
Yeah.
Did we, in the past, allow it to go through without a subdivision?
I thought so when it was a minor piece of ground and being moved, just where neighbors were squaring up their properties.
That's basically what it is, yes. It's exactly what it is.
I don't see the need for a subdivision land development plan for something like that.
That's why I'm here to see about getting a waiver so we can proceed with getting a surveyor in and have a deed made up. Add that to their property if they want 2 deeds. I don't know how they'll do it, but
There should be a uniform deed that incorporates the addition.
Yeah. And the subtraction.
That subtraction isn't gonna make your lot non-conforming, is it, by any chance?
what's that again?
No.
Less than an acre, what is it, an acre and a half now?
That's something to
That
think
piece of land we're
about.
talking about is a little bit bigger than
Yeah, well,
this room.
right now, what is our?
This is already a non-conforming, this is conforming with what we had
Yes, at the time.
at the time. But there's certainly no secondary drainage field going to go into this piece of ground.
Yeah, but and this is just food for thought, if the lot is non-conforming to the minimum lot size, then it's a non-conforming condition, and technically you shouldn't increase a non-conforming condition. In this case, if you're taking land away from a non-conforming condition, you're increasing that non-conformity. But I'm all for a simple process. I'm just raising, because I don't, Rich or somebody might raise that question down the road.
So basically, what we're gonna do is, do we need to see this survey, or just let it go to the supervisors once he has the survey done?
I don't think we need to look at anything,
I don't think so either.
unless they do a subdivision. If they do a subdivision plan and come in with it, then yeah, I think we need to look at it.
The township should waive if they're gonna waive it, it should be an official waiving of the subdivision process.
Yeah, so we're gonna make a motion.
Make a motion to recommend to the supervisors that a request for alteration to subdivision plan requirements for the addition of that small portion, with the contention that the property deeds be redrawn to include the addition and subtraction of that piece of property.
Do you want to mention that the solicitor should review the fact that this increases the nonconformity somewhat?
It's up to the supervisors, if they want to.
Okay. So basically you're saying the land development plan is not needed for this proposed change?
No, if the supervisors approve the change, we're recommending that the subdivision planning process need not be going through if they approve the action.
Okay. Do you have questions on that?
Yeah, I just wondered, just for the record, so you just want to square up your property,
Square up my property, yes.
okay?
He doesn't like to cut the
gonna
grass down there anymore.
Is there going to be any consideration whenever you transfer from this to your neighbor? As far as, are they going to pay for that?
Yeah, they're paying for all the expenses.
Okay. That was my question, because I couldn't figure out why you'd pay the survey, give them the land then for free.
No, I'm not paying for the survey, that's all understood.
Yeah, it's going, they would, well, that makes sense. I mean, you're gonna give them the land, you're not gonna pay to give them the land.
Yes, I'm not gonna pay them to give them something. I'm not that rich.
Okay, is there a second on the motion?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? See the supervisors on the 24th?
I have to come to the meeting?
Well, I would, yeah, that's where they're gonna decide whether you can do it or not.
Okay. All right, 24th.
All we did was make a recommendation to them that
All right.
subdivision land development plan is not what we consider necessary at this point.
All right, thank you.
Fair term?
Yep.
Curtis Fire Company waiver request. They're requesting conditional use waiver. Is that correct? Did I interpret that correctly?
Waiver for land development plan for the property at 1136 State Road. Certainly, go ahead.
Yeah.
What are they proposing?
Well, they're proposing to use the old, what was it?
Eagles nest.
Eagles, yeah.
Something nest, property there to go back, and they're gonna put another sales lot on it. But
Well, who's gonna do that?
The one who's
Fernley
applying for the
Heavy-
waiver.
Fernley
The
Heavy Equipment
the intent
says.
is, the Fernley Priest is in the process of dealing with Swope to buy the Eagles Nest business. And he's gonna put a car lot in there. And now the construction that was to take place was he was gonna restone the parking area and the old scale house, the curbing that was on the scale pit. He wanted to take those two pieces of curb off of that scale pit. That was the limit of the construction that was gonna go on.
Who's doing this, Bob?
Fernley,
Oh.
Fernley Priest.
The problem is that there's two uses occurring on the property.
But what's the farm or construction equipment and supply sales? Is that?
Well, that's the sales, okay, then there's three uses on the property. There's commercial car real deal, okay? They also mentioned the sale of construction equipment, but also the fire company has a storage facility on property
Okay.
now. In a commercial zone. So the construction equipment would be not the primary approval, it would be a conditioned approval. And the warehouse or storage unit that they have there would be more than one use on the property by more than one tenant.
So they're proposing farm and construction equipment and supply sales. That's what they're proposing as part of,
Well,
The conditional use.
They're car
What's the,
sales and,
what the conditions were with Swope. Swope was selling construction equipment as well as the car equipment. He had trenchers and he had a number of other pieces of equipment in there. So basically, Fernley's going in with the same. The use of the storage, that had always been like a storage area for the fire company there. Because we, since the fire company owned the land, it was used for those purposes.
so the request is to waive the land development plan for the uses on the lease, because the lease is a subdivision of land or land development. And then the second part is a conditional use, to waive the conditional use process. And the conditional use process is through the zoning ordinance, so in my mind, I guess, not speaking out of turn here, but that's something for the zoning hearing board to decide.
Agreed.
but is there a requirement underneath the, what's that section I think? Okay, from under land development. Okay, the division or allocation of land or space either initially or cumulatively between or among two or more existing or prospective occupants by means of or for the purposes of common areas, leaseholds, buildings, or other features. So originally, when the land development plan went through, I don't know that the fire company had their storage on there. All I can remember in their initial land development, it was for car sales. And they had that one main trailer moved onto the lot, that was it.
Was that pre-zoning, wasn't it?
Yes,
This all happened before zoning went in place.
yes,
Okay.
but that use stopped.
Yes.
So it has not been, that use has not been in effect for how long?
How do you mean, which use you referring to? Mr. Swope moved out of there at the end of January.
Yeah.
So that was as a car sales, because I didn't see too much equipment there. I saw the one, no, I did see the one.
Yeah, there's a semi sitting there now.
Yeah, I did see, like a ditch witch or
Yeah,
things
something
like
like
that
that,
as
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Now, is it an issue The supplies your guys are storing there, is that, would that clear up some of this if they just took them back to the firehouse? The storage?
Well, I don't know, my question is that the reason why Madden is saying you need a land development plan? I don't know exactly what reasons.
My
The only thing
understanding,
that he said was that there was no plan attached to the application.
my understanding that Madden had taken out of Fernley, that Fernley was gonna sell construction equipment there. That Fernley's setting up a car lot there, that he's going around, he had looked at one car lot to move it in, and now he's talking with, quote to buy the Eagle's Nest name and all.
So all that Madden said, that there was no land development plan attached to the application, which is part of the application process.
And nobody was aware of that at the time, and that would have been a consideration. And then also, he didn't feel that it was appropriate for Frisch to be coming to him, that it should have been the property owner coming. That was his other situation.
I feel that it's pretty much not a decision, it has to happen. A land development plan and a conditional use plan has to happen for that piece of property, because there's not any really concrete reason it shouldn't, since the use has been discontinued, and now's the time to clear up the use of that piece of property.
Well, they were coming for a use permit.
Yes, but
So would they need to make the requirement at this time for the use?
they'll have to state the use.
When you say use, are you talking conditional use?
Well,
You have to state the use, and if it falls on, one of them is a conditional use,
Yeah,
then you'll need to get a conditional
That's right,
permit.
the construction and farm equipment is
Yes.
a conditional use according to Lenny, and so, yeah, they would have to apply for a conditional use for that use on the property. And it sounds like he's continuing, he's saying that because there's multiple uses on the property, that would be land development too. And then, I guess no plan was submitted, so his final comment is, you have to comply with all the regulations of the
Yeah.
zoning, because he doesn't know if he comply or not, because nothing has been submitted for his review.
I mean, it's nigh on impossible to say, yes, we recommend granting this waiver, because we don't know what the waiver is requesting. That's my interpretation of it,
you know, we can't waive a conditional use here.
and we can't do that either. Conditional uses are granted by the supervisors. And the zoning aspect of it has to go to the zoning hearing board.
And if they come in with a plan for use of the property, then we can comment to the supervisors on what conditions we feel they might want to
Consider,
in their action.
so,
There's no problem with drainage down there, is there? It goes off to the, let's see. This way, like that. Here's the drainage going under the railroad.
yeah. There's problems in here with poor drainage. I don't know whether they ever cleared that up. Isn't this a
Is
car
this-
wash?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they-
where's the pipe that you're gonna have to monitor to discharge to Susquehanna?
I don't know where it is on there.
But you are gonna have to monitor it, right?
I'm not. Supervisors are gonna have to do it.
Okay, the township, okay, the township has to monitor the stormwater discharges to the Susquehanna River down through that section.
That's for.
So it seems to me that that is a drainage point there. That probably goes underneath the railroad, and I don't remember if This is above the back road back in Perdix. Right?
This is,
To the north of it. The Perdix.
It lays between the Citgo and the Sheets.
in Sheets, yeah. This
The
is
old
car
Citgo
wash.
station.
Yeah.
That's not the question you're asking, I don't.
No, the road goes back into the Perdix area. That's down further south, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
So this drainage probably goes right underneath the railroad to the
Yes.
river.
yes,
So that is probably one of the stormwater monitoring points.
yes.
So that's one thing that we might want to be looking at.
That's gonna be a problem, if you recall, up at where Sitco was, that fellow wanted to put in that recyclable lot in there.
Yes.
And we had a lot of concerns about fluids running out of vehicles, even though they were to be drained.
That's this lot here.
Yes.
So
Because-
that was, his drainage was back to that same point.
Same point.
Yes.
But they're all gonna go to the river, and they all have to be monitored in that area, no matter how they get there, whichever point they go through, all of them have to be monitored.
So is this just a,
Including
you
the
bring a
streets.
vehicle in, park it to sell, or are they gonna be doing any work on the vehicles there?
Well,
For sale.
yeah, for sale. But the purposes of tonight is to make a motion to the supervisors on this request. And what I'm hearing is,
Well, they haven't completed the paperwork, is that correct?
they haven't, in my opinion, this is not we can't, we need the land development plan to find out what they want to do as to whether there's conditional uses needed or waivers needed for zoning. So they're requesting not to do a land development plan, and which would also include possibility from the verbiage on here, conditional use necessity. So we need a motion as to the supervisors as to whether we'd recommend granting this waiver.
I did see, like a ditch witch and things for sale there, currently, but is there any other, I mean, if he wants to sell a truck, I have no problem with that, but does the township have a problem if he wants to bring a big earth mover in or something to lease?
Well, that's
Is that different?
That's construction equipment.
Yeah, does that require a conditional use?
Yes.
Okay, well then, that's really the issue. He just has to apply, he wouldn't have to apply for just a car lot. Is that right?
Yes.
But if he wants to sell or lease construction equipment.
And that would include smaller equipment too, such as
Yeah,
ditch witch.
yeah, well, that's the part I didn't,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure of.
Yeah, but that's our confusion on it because the previous owner had been selling that equipment.
And I guess the bottom line is if they had to come and ask to do that, it would have been required a conditional use. Because it happened and nobody caught it, it doesn't make it right. But now we have to catch it.
Yeah, I can follow that. The situation now is the expense and all. What is your land development plan consist of?
I think they could just take the previous one. Who did the previous one? If you could get the same engineers and to just put the additional update on it. Like the one shed that the storage is occurring on for the fire company. I don't think that was in the original land development plan.
Was there a land development plan? I'm not aware of a land development.
Yeah, when they put the nest went in there.
No, because the one house, the scale house was our, no, we used the scale house for our storage. And then,
Yeah.
And then Mr.
Curlin.
Curlin come in and put the office trailer in, and in his world, that office trailer was a commodity. He was selling them.
Yeah.
That was part of the situation there.
Yeah,
and he removed the jailhouse property, or the jailhouse building.
Yeah, I think there was definitely a land development plan for the Eagles Nest lot there. And the only thing I can remember going in was a sales trailer.
and but the part about, that makes this tricky is now the sales trailer that went in there was for sale. So it really wasn't part of the land development plan, it was part of the,
The inventory.
inventory, there you, thank you.
Well, no, I thought there was going to be a trailer in there that was gonna be the office, if I remember the plan.
Well, that's probably right. Bottom line is, we need a new plan showing what buildings are gonna be where, what uses are gonna take place.
Yeah.
You asked me what the land development plan is. You can get a list off of Helen that tells you what all that has to
I got
contain.
that today, but my concern is do we have to go to the expense of all of the survey elevations and such? Or would a sketch of that be sufficient to give you a, you know, because I have more than enough
Well,
confidence
if you're not,
people
if
to
you're
give
not
you.
doing any further grading,
Pardon?
if you're not doing any further grading than the original land development plan,
Right.
then I think you go with the original, land development plan if you use the same group who did that, the survey or whatever, and just update it for what you plan to do, because the one thing I don't think is gonna be on that plan is that storage building. And did they ever get a permit for the storage building?
I could not tell you. That's a Helen question.
And
The other-
then that structure up front, is that on the property that, carport driving thing there?
No, that was a landscape business come in and bought that off of the people who were selling it. That wasn't Mr. Swope. That was
Well,
sitting in there.
according to Google, it's on that property.
Pardon?
According to Google, it's on that lot.
Well, it's been going for several months
Yeah, I think they took it down.
because I
thought I
used
drove
it
past
for,
yesterday.
Did you have a temporary tent up for Easter flowers?
yes.
This was an aluminum type structure.
Right, it was a carport.
But that's gone, isn't it?
Huh?
That's gone, isn't it?
That's gone, yes.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I thought the tent, didn't you put the tent for the flowers
For
there?
the flowers, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I had.
Well, I've been retired for a few months here. I don't go up and down 11 and 15 every day anymore.
Well, you gotta watch your traffic, you can't be looking around through there. What you're up against is the people who sold and constructed that carport was the same organization that put the storage shed in for Mr. Swope. And that's sitting there on 4x6 pressure treated lumber, is what that's sitting in there on.
Yeah. I think we bought all the covers for the generators off the people that had that thing there, didn't we?
I don't
The
know.
municipal authority.
It could be, I don't know,
I'm not sure either now whether that's who we contacted, the people that had that. Because I remember stopping down and getting the number off of that aluminum thing
yeah.
when we were looking for buildings over the generators. I don't remember if that's where we bought them or not. The municipal authority bought them.
Is there any requirement in land development plan to separate the uses areas? No, I didn't think so. It's just that wording covers a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, Lenny made an interpretation here, and, maybe they can work with him to further define what his interpretation was.
But it would have to include, and you guys have already discussed the sewer to death. You're gonna connect that to the,
Yeah, the sewer, basically the sewer is hanging up in the air pending the use of the property.
right, okay. So all those things will have to be answered for the land development plan. As far as, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm just thinking of what all he should, be showing on the plan.
Yeah.
If they're gonna be a sewer connection, then that ought to be on the plan, right?
And yes, there should be. And
So
that has to be determined by the uses of the property.
And should there be anything on the plan about addressing that surface water back there?
I would think so.
Yeah.
As a development plan, you'd have to do the runoff for it. Because that's gonna have to be addressed on every piece of property down through there, if any kind of disturbance takes place at all.
You'll need a sampling port or something like that, it just can't be an open ditch, right?
I don't know what they're gonna require. I do not know what they're gonna require.
Another thing.
This S4 you're talking about?
MS4, yeah.
Yeah, MS4, yeah.
Is there, I don't recall, is there curbing in front of this property, or is
I
it?
think
Yes,
so.
there is.
Okay, so
There's
you don't-
curbing in front of this property on
But-
1115,
And
right?
with a
Right,
conditional use for agriculture, you have to keep all your equipment back 50 foot from the
Yeah.
front line. But for car sales, I don't think so. So if you park equipment there, it's gotta be 50 foot back from the highway line for conditional use requirements. But I think this is a curb right
Okay,
through
right
here.
there, I was gonna say, because, you know,
So a
access,
separation, yeah, from the traffic lane. So what you need to do is take a look at the zoning requirements for car sales and equipment sales. And take a look at drainage, if you wanna be addressing some drainage, discharge back there. I don't think you're gonna have as much of a problem with just equipment sales, if there's no work being done on the cars or the equipment, it's just the sales. But there still would be, the only thing I could think of is an incident. So I don't know if we need like a settling catch basin or anything like that prior to discharge for any separation of.
Yeah, I mean, I know, you know, thinking, you know, what Max would say, he's probably looking for some type of minor stormwater, some type of, berm or something, you know, depending on if they're doing any additional impervious coverage out there, or increasing the lot area, which I think that's all pretty much impervious right now, isn't it?
And I don't know whether that drainage there, would say drainage right away, is on their property or on the adjacent property, or is that all one property? Is that two different lots? Is there a line here? I see a line here on Google.
Yeah, Sitco, the line, the Sitco's property's right in here.
So it would seem to me that the drainage is on this lot, the under drain for the railroad.
If everything already drains that way.
Yeah, that's all you have the whole way along, from crossing to crossing, is a swale in back of the properties.
Yeah.
Nobody has any draining.
I
Right
thought
now,
this
that's
was
just
an
a, that's like a debris, that's a debris pile from the,
Okay, so there's no under drain here, under the
No,
railroad
no,
to the
no.
river.
Where's the swale go to then?
up to either crossing has
And underneath, yeah,
underneath the railroad.
Yeah.
You have the stone arches under the
Yeah.
railroad down through there.
Never mind.
yeah, that's what I thought, there was a
I
swale
thought,
back
I
here.
thought there was a drain there.
No, that's
And
the pile of debris from whatever.
this is primarily all gravel in here, isn't it? Or is it?
Well, this is a skill thing here, you're talking
This is
about.
Yeah.
concrete, and there's some bituminous around here, then it's all like an aggregate.
It's gravel.
So you're gonna
Gravel.
actually, what you're gonna do is take that out and make it all gravel?
Basically, what he was gonna do was get stone it so it was all one color. He was just gonna make
Just
it
one kind of stone back over.
So he would just run stone over the.
It's stone now,
current-
pretty much.
Yeah, he was just gonna brighten it
So
up.
you're not gonna be changing the infiltration
No.
or runoff calculations or anything on there, so I'm not too sure about whether they need a stormwater control.
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna do a land development or ask for a waiver, that's one item that they should, you know,
Yeah.
they should discuss, yeah.
Right.
You know, that's one of those items you don't wanna come and not be prepared to discuss, the stormwater.
That's all I.
And for Sam was down today, and we finally located the one sewer connection here. The other one up here apparently lay somewhere back here that he couldn't find it with the stone that was pushed over, and then he said this one was destroyed from snowplow several years ago.
Yeah, in the wintertime, we were down there in the middle of the winter with stuff coming to the surface.
Oh, okay.
Because they hit it with they ran something over it,
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that serious.
and broke it off, broke the pipe right in there somewhere.
Okay, because what you have is your dark streak here in here is the sewer line going through, that they brought it off at Cisco and come across. So the connection would be lying in back of the sewer
Yeah.
line, wouldn't it?
Yeah, this is the repave, you mean, right here?
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
And that we paved with the new, and then there's a manhole down here, and then we found the valve. That would probably, that would
I
be
sort of have a general idea where this one is up there. I'll have to go down and see him, see if I can help you with that.
So,
Okay.
they getting water line too?
Huh?
The water,
There is water back there.
there's a water,
Hydrant?
a pump here. The well has a pump in it, and there is a frost-free
Yard
shower on
hydrant.
it. There's no water in the building.
Yard hydrant, yeah.
Okay, so
And
they don't,
he couldn't use the water to wash the cars because of the tip go.
Oh, yes, I remember that now.
Okay. So when he washed the cars with the water, he got an oil film on the cars, so.
Is that still bad after all that work they did down there?
I would have.
I mean, they took
But my understanding, the
truckloads of
people on the
dirt
other
out
side of the track, they have filtered.
years ago.
Well, that's a
Yeah.
wetland area, so you got a shallow aquifer. So when they did the excavation for the tank, they only dug out as much as they saw by sight. It's already into the aquifer and it's gonna be there.
Yeah.
Is I had the misfortune of retiring from PennDOT, and in the old files, before Dr. Larson come in and everybody threw all their old files away, there was a USGS plans there that the railroad wasn't on. In this whole area here, we get backwater for the Susquehanna. Is when the railroad come in and then the sediment and all come down, then it started filling in.
You can still get USGS topo maps from the 40s.
Well, this was, the railroad went in and made
I guess the
1800.
railroad was there by then.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like I say, the map that were in the files out there were,
What, 1800s or so?
yeah, because what it was during the 30s, you had what, Pinchot, which one the governor had, the work program, that you would not believe the records that we had that they threw away, that they had people out going through the courthouses. I was able to pick up the Duncan and New Buffalo, New Bloomfield, and old plans for those places out of the dumpster.
Okay,
But
so,
anyway, that's
Yeah.
it.
So you wanna make a recommendation to the supervisor? To request denial of the request?
No, I don't wanna do it. I'll second it.
Okay, he seconded it. So we're making a
Just
recommendation to
because they need it.
supervisors to deny
Yeah.
the request for a waiver of the land development plan, mainly because it appears that a conditional use is proposed for the property, and additional sewer line installation and possibly stormwater controls should be looked at. Did I get it all?
Well, you did that good.
and usage, whatever other usages may be proposed for the property.
Yeah, well, the conditional use for equipment sales. Are we gonna include the storage use? I don't,
I just request the uses be,
just the sales, auto sales and, construction sales.
Is that, what do you store in there? I mean, if that's an issue.
Right now, the barbecue grill and,
That's what I figured, yeah.
and the tents and whatever that we use for the cash and all down the line.
So I think Madden wasn't going towards that as towards the conditional use for the equipment sales.
Okay.
okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Any questions on the motion? You second the
I
motion.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so carried. You got it?
If,
You'll
I
to
have
see
no
it.
idea what your motion was, could you just give me a
Okay, motion was to recommend denial of the request for waiving the land development plan due to the need for conditional use regarding the equipment sales, potential for a sewer hookup, stormwater, drainage. Need more information as far as that,
May need, yeah, more information for stormwater.
and clarification of all the uses on the property.
Okay, now, as far as this progresses on further, that what do we need or who has to provide this information relative to the stormwater and that type of thing?
Well, the supervisors are probably gonna go along the Eagle Land Development Plan. At that point, you'll need to pursue exactly how detailed that needs to be.
Yeah, you wanna look at the zoning requirements for conditional uses and for just straight use, what the requirements are there.
Now,
For,
what you can do
setbacks,
is
like
get
the
together,
equipment, separate equipment setbacks for, if you're parking the equipment on the lot for sale, there's a separate setback from the highway than for vehicles, and I don't know why, because it's more of a hazard for the equipment sales next to the highway. I guess you could run off the highway and hit other cars, but if you run off the highway, you hit a bulldozer, you have.
That was the thing with the curbing, it was amazing that, in my experience, is what we were able to put in with curbing in front of it and get away with it.
Well, all the zoning says is there has to be a separation of curbing from direct access to the areas of the property except for the permitted highway access area.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's any requirements for any landscaping in that for this. There's not any commercial.
It'll depend on what the uses are.
No.
Yeah, no residential. That's why I was asking what was on the other side of the railroad track.
Yeah.
There.
But the exact details of the land development plan that they may require will have to come from Lenny and the township engineer. Okay?
All right. Okay, I thank you.
Warden property time extension.
Yeah, time extension.
And Bob, you would obviously be able to ask some questions like that of the township office and stuff to help
Right,
get
yeah, I
some
can-
leads on.
I'll talk to Helen or, let Burnley and Lenny get back together.
They may make it come through the fire company since they're property owners.
Right, exactly, yeah. So, I
Helen
put a
will be
request
back
in
in
for the
tomorrow.
tape and everything then.
Yeah, if you.
Of course, with my ears, I don't hear everything.
On the Stone Mill Estate, the plan's been tabled for, we don't have engineering comments. I haven't had time to look it over in earnest. And, but we do have a request for a time extension. I know that they were before the municipal authority trying to get a sewer line connecting to Butcher Shop Road. But I don't think that sewer line worked out because there was too many steep slopes involved in it. I'm not sure.
So the supervisors do have to act on the request by April 24.
Yes.
So I make a recommendation to the supervisors to approve the request for the time extension for the Stone Mills Estates, for them to develop further review by our engineer and respond to any further questions. Did they get through with the zoning hearing?
No.
That's why they have to do a redesign, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Well,
for
then
further zoning hearing action.
Well, they're only asking for 1 month. Will they be able to get it done in 1 month?
Well, this is only what they asked for. We can't give them any further,
Okay.
can we?
Well, I mean.
We can make a
You
recommendation.
can't, because, I mean, they grant the time
They
extension
grant
to
the
the
time
township.
extension.
The township doesn't grant the extension to them, you just accept the extension, so they're saying a
I'll make a
month.
recommendation that they accept the extension.
Yeah.
Any further questions on that motion?
Can we make a comment about the extension?
Sure.
My name is Robert Hamilton. I'm with Seda, Sullivan and Rogers, a law firm out of Carlisle. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Rob, adjoining landowner. You guys all know that this plan's been revised many times since, I think, 2005. And our concern really is, at what point is this not just a revision of a plan, but an entirely new plan? You know, there have been different changes since '05, many changes since '05. The parties, there may be new interested people who back in '05 were not present. And it's kind of unfair to whatever parties there are out there who are not aware of what the plan looked like in '05 to just be accepting whatever new changes they make in starting this year. We suggest that because of the length of time that this has gone on and the number of revisions, that they actually submit a new application, start all over from the very beginning. I don't know how many of the reviewing agencies have been involved throughout the process. I know you guys have been heavily involved, as has the Board of Supervisors and the Zoning Hearing Board. But to what extent has the Perry County Planning Commission been reviewing this, or the Perry County Conservation District as well? And you guys can answer that, of course. But we would just argue that in the public interest, because of the length of time and the numerous revisions that have gone on, that this be treated as actually an entirely new plan. I'll defer to you.
I can tell you that what we have done in the past, and the comment and the return that came back to us was, as long as they write revised on the plan, we have to keep reviewing it as a revised plan.
Okay.
Now, being an attorney, you can tell that that came from an attorney, because we were tired of it too.
Yeah.
And,
But that's the comment that came back to us, do you recall? As long as they write revised on it, we have to keep reviewing it as the original submission.
Okay.
Revised.
I plan on putting something into, when next time we get back to the land development and the subdivision on land development ordinance,
Yes?
that we put something in there that gives a time period and some sort of a means of revision, okay? That after that time period, they have to come back in and they have to pay their fee again. All this time that we've been reviewing it, we only have the initial payment for review.
The only people who are getting paid are these people and the attorneys.
Right.
The planning commission
In the township.
and the township supervisors are sitting through this crap time and time and time again.
So one of the things I've been doing on the internet since I retired is looking at other subdivision plans on how they write into there that it can't go on forever.
Right.
If you have any wording that you want us to consider to incorporate into our future additions to our land development planning, let us know.
Very unfortunately, we try to curtail this, and we are going to curtail it with the number of time extensions, unless there's a true reason for the time extension in the future. They actually have been working with the municipal authority to try to do some of this stuff on the water and on the sewer, which were legitimate reasons for time extensions. But that's slowly running out.
Sure.
Because progress has not been made. What we've had is failure after failure after failure of plans, but no progress has been made. So the time's coming when number 34 may not be. 33's just been recommended. 34 may not be.
Okay.
That's my opinion, and mine only. It won't get you anything at the bank.
What's yours own?
Well,
What do you think I've been looking at?
what I'm
something
verbalizing
that
is, but that is going to be, unfortunately, if we adopt and can get something adopted to prevent this in the future, it still doesn't change this plan.
Sure.
I understand what you said, but when we tried this 2 years ago, as to what was a revised plan and how many revisions and how big it goes from 90 to 150 to 75. It goes from duplexes to singles to, we were told by the township attorney, as long as it said revised on it, we had to keep working with it.
Okay.
So yeah, be in touch with Art. He'd be glad to have any verbiage to incorporate. Because once we get done with this comprehensive plan update, we're going to start into fixing some of the rules we've already got
Okay.
And have problems.
and have had problems with. But of course, it was a learning cycle for us.
Sure.
I never had one that ran, the longest one that I ever remember previously was a year and a half.
This has been going on for
7+.
05.
Yeah, so 7+ years.
Yeah. Motion on the floor. Any other questions on the motion?
No, I just wanted to make a comment. Whenever this new plan is, I don't have a copy of what the new plan looks like. If it could just be sent, directed to our office, my attention, it would be appreciated. I can give you that.
Take it up with the township office,
Okay.
not the planning commission,
Okay.
because they would have to be the ones to release that,
Okay.
or not release it, or...
All right. Thank you.
I really don't know what the protocols are on that kind of
Okay.
stuff, because that usually doesn't hit us.
Okay.
It hits the supervisors. Okay, if there's no other questions on the motion, then I'll look for a second. That's accepting the time extension.
Recommendation for department accepting the request for time extension.
Yeah. Per month?
Yeah.
Well, that's different. Did he make a second?
No, yes, I do.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried.
Sure.
What about this other letter? Is that just a mistaken request for alteration to requirement? Or are they actually requesting that we once again change our land development ordinance to modify the number of houses that can be on a private right of way?
Okay. This is a request for modification of
The requirement. It's just poorly worded. Don't we have a form that they could submit that on?
I believe so, but I think we need to recommend to the supervisors not to consider modification to the subdivision land development ordinance. First of all, that has to be
Go through public hearing.
public hearing and everything else,
Yeah.
but
We would, I think we could go back directly to them, since this, it is addressed to the Penn Township Board of Supervisors, isn't it?
yes,
It is. It's not addressed to the county commission.
and it's a,
So
please
it's,
consider this corresponds a request
yeah.
for modification of the following subdivision land development ordinance.
So it's not a request for alteration to requirement. So we could,
That is a request.
it's
Please.
a request to the supervisors to modify the ordinance.
Right. And since it's before us, I want the opportunity to say, I
No.
recommend that they do not.
You're saying it's a request to amend, going through the amendment process
Yes.
to address, and then, are you saying that this is a modification of requirement request?
That's what this is.
So there's
No,
two different,
no,
you're
no,
talking
no.
about two different things.
Right. I'm saying that it does not appear to be a request for alteration to requirement for more than one or more than 3 lots on a private right-of-way. It appears to me that they're writing to the supervisors requesting that they change the land development ordinance to allow more than 3 lots on a private right-of-way.
Yes. They're requesting
Yeah.
modification of the subdivision and land development ordinance.
So they wanna write new language to allow, so they would go through the amendment process, not the waiver process.
There is a process where an outside entity can petition the
That's right,
department.
to change the ordinance.
Petition the township.
Yeah.
That'll go away with time.
To change the subdivision land development ordinance, and
But
they would
this-
have to submit an ordinance to the
There's a form
township.
and manner that they need to do, not just
Mhm.
by letter. So this is just a letter to the supervisors making a suggestion that that the township modify its ordinance. And I would say that, yes, I want to make a recommendation to the supervisors that that modification not be taken into consideration.
Got that?
How many developments do we have in the township with private streets?
None.
Yeah.
No, we have about a half dozen.
Do we?
With more than,
Oh, Petersburg Commons has still got association. I think.
yes, Beaver Commons. We got the one up on top of the hill there with about 5 homes. Remember, we had that slope condition down below?
Yeah, but I don't think that was a homeowners association.
No, did you say association
No,
or
private
private right
private
of way?
streets.
Private right of way.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's more than a half dozen.
Yeah, there's more, there's a number of them. The one that ended up with the tents on a private drive got through when we were in the process of changing the number on a private drive before it was
Yeah, but
finished.
I still think that, did that not have an association? I thought that had an association also.
I thought so too.
I know that one got through with 5 without an association.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. You're right. You are right. But the private right-of-way is one thing, private street, and association street's going to be a different thing.
Yeah.
And this is going to be association street.
But right now, we haven't changed our land development plan to put that in yet. So it is if they want to come in with this, there would be a request for alteration to requirement. They would have to come in and be approved with the plan.
That's what they would be doing for association maintained streets. And we'll have to get into that as a separate thing, but, so his motion was,
Recommend that the,
Supervisors not consider any modification to the land development and subdivision.
okay, to the Saldo.
yes, for private streets and rights of way.
Okay.
Any other questions on that motion? Second on the motion.
One second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried. Helen would like us to look over the 2012 summary.
How about all of those minutes?
And come back with the review of the 2012 summary. Okay, let's go back to the minutes.
And then get appropriate.
Gonna get a cookie. Okay,
Cookie break.
starting with December 20th, 2010. Did you have anything for us?
No, I was gonna say, you need me to,
No, you're welcome to sit down and have your cookies and
yeah,
stuff.
then I'll,
We're good to go back.
we have an application due in the state. Gotta be postmarked today, so I was in the office at 4 o'clock this morning,
Oh, Lord.
so.
Underneath the municipal authority letter dated,
Excuse me,
At the end
mine only go to January the 5th or 6th. I don't have anything before that. So I mean, that's okay, I just won't second it. Okay.
Go ahead, Art.
under the end of that first sentence there, development plan for, that should be odor control. The bottom paragraph.
And at the next line's order control too.
Oh, we went odor in there.
You really don't have to take your cookies to go, you know.
I know.
I can't say that I blame you though.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Art, what did you say?
No,
Thanks, Frank.
Mhm. I'll see you
Yeah,
guys.
Take care on the
Yep.
way home.
Take my
down at
cookies
the
and go.
Bye.
See you. See you.
The bottom paragraph there, I think we need some work. After discussion and upon a Della Piazza McGuire motion, I would say that we drop that out and put on the Penn Township Planning Commission voted on the request from the municipal authority for relief from the requirement of from the requirement of following a land development plan, period. Eliminate that and start out, the township subdivision and land development ordinance does not have an exemption for this action.
Okay.
And then the municipal authority put in should submit. Drop the S off of submits. The municipal authority should submit a minimal land. That's it. I think it reads a lot better that way.
Yes, it does.
Make a motion that minutes be accepted as
As corrected.
modified, yeah, as corrected.
January 6th.
Yeah.
Do I have a second on that first set of minutes?
On second.
December. Well, that we did. The 6th.
Are we on January 6th now? Is that receivering, is that a spelling error there, under the T?
Yes, that is.
Hmm?
Yes, that is a spelling error.
I didn't want to be too harsh, but I noticed the other guys were pointing them out another time, so.
We never take offense to that.
Okay.
The more there are, the crazier the day was.
Yeah, reviewed is wrong on there too. I before E except after C, and sometimes V.
The second paragraph on the workshop, the planning commission discussed using the 2010 census versus the 2000 census. And it was explained that the 2010 census information will not be available until 2012. And then we go on to use the census information in the next paragraph. So I think what we said back there is that,
They're using the 2000 instead of the 2010.
you know, that the 2010 census information other than population, because at that time the only thing I could find was population information.
Yeah,
They hadn't done all of the other stuff.
calculations for the other stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because that's when we went on, and then from there on in, everything was just the 2000 census information. But we did include the population in 2010.
Yeah,
Because we wanted to get that rebound in there that was non-existent actually in 2000. They said our population decreased in the 2000 census when we didn't think that it actually did. But it popped right back up again in the 2010.
Are you on page 2? Where it says fourth paragraph? The substantial decrease in the productive age group does not reflect continued.
Yes, that was pointed out by somebody else as well. Big
Continued,
circle with a question mark.
continued growth, or is it continued change?
I think we're only changing wording within the quotation marks.
yeah, yep.
Does not reflect continued trend. Is that what you want to say?
Now, whatever the word is that follows in the actual word.
See, I think this is what was changed.
Okay.
There was more to that whole sentence.
Okay, all right, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure when we did change within the quotation marks.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
whatever your theory, it was a while back, but whatever, it appears to read sufficiently correct within the quotation.
I'm glad I'm out of the productive. I'm in the mature now.
and I'm supposed to be retired.
That exists anymore? That should read experienced.
still worthless anyways, because we revised everything all over again by now. I have no further comments.
Okay, motion for the minutes of January 6th.
As corrected. Second.
As corrected, second by Art.
Didn't correct anything, just that
Yeah,
one spelling error.
the 2010 population, big information element. First pager.
I'll second that if you're waiting on that.
Okay. January 11th.
I'm gonna be the first one to get Ken Smith kicked out of this planning commission.
Who's Ken Smith?
I don't know.
Should be Ken Martz.
Yep.
Oh, I see.
By the way, we did receive an application for an additional member. I don't know the person. I don't know anything about them. I have to get that off of Helen and then I'll
Just
share
so
it
you
with
know
you
the
guys.
name.
He lives, I think in Fernley's development. And he's involved in East Pennsboro's zoning and so on and so forth. I'll have to get a copy of the resume from Helen and share it with you guys. Because sooner or later we'll have to make a decision on that. I would like to have more than one person to choose from. It did go out that we were looking for somebody. As far as I know, we only got one application.
That's all I've heard of.
All right,
The recreation got theirs filled, right?
For the moment.
Okay. Under workshop, the workshop started at 6:30 p.m. with discussion of insert of.
I'm not gonna keep these anyhow.
And after chapter 5 there, which starts out Mr. Della Piazza, I don't know why we have to be so formal, Mr. Della Piazza, presented his update for chapter, that should be 6, not 5. We went on from 5 to 6. Ed corrected me with a change that I thought was necessary, but what did we decide there with the top paragraph there?
Okay, the top line of page 2,
Yeah,
it says the township experienced a 3.6 vacancy.
What's that mean?
that's the number of housing units that did not have anybody in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then it says, the next line says the vacancy was lower
It should be then.
than neighbor, okay. Got
Is it
that.
T-H-E-N or A-N?
THAN.
Okay.
And on the only other one I have is on the 3rd page, under housing characteristics, halfway down there. After the 1980 to 1990, that should be decade. How does that work? Do I have to sign all these now for Brian?
Yes. Or, actually, I think we're just going to adopt them without his signature.
Yeah.
This housing spelled wrong here.
Yep.
Oh, there's more than one decade. On the first page, there's a decade.
Yeah, that's a metric term, decade. There was an increase of 163 dwelling units, opposed to the increase of 2 during the period.
Decades, percentage.
Should it say 1/2 of the housing units in Penn Township? I don't know. 1/2 of the housing units in Penn Township were constructed since 1970. You want to say something like that?
Yeah, that's kind of confusing.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We got Ken back again, Mr. March. Oh, this is more recent.
Didn't see anything now. Unless the facts are wrong.
Somehow. This letter, did you guys receive this letter in your package? It wasn't, mine must have been stuck somewhere. This is a letter from Jody,
Yeah.
dated March 18th.
That's the one we were using tonight, wasn't it? Or
Well-
you didn't use that one?
It wasn't with the other one, and I just wanted to bring it.
What date do you have?
This is it's headed by the Perdix Fire Company.
Yeah, March 28th.
Well, see, somehow mine was separated from the other request, and I didn't see this letter till now, although
I thought that's the one we acted on.
Yeah.
it was, but I was looking at this one. That's the reason I was having trouble with it. I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of
This
this
is the
one.
one we were using.
Yeah, okay. And I was looking at this to get my info. Although I knew what the request was.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of February 18th.
Okay. All in favor?
I get to sign that one.
Yeah. I don't know how caught up we are with the minutes now.
I think that's it.
Getting pretty close.
Yeah.
We still have some others back in last
It
years or so.
could be possible. I know as she hands them to me as the website fills in.
Let me ask you a question. Do you want to review this planning commission summary?
It's double, both sides of the page.
The bottom line is, I won't remember whether everything is in here that we did or not.
The only thing I would think of reviewing it for is grammar. But who's gonna really look at it?
I don't know.
It goes into a file drawer, right?
Goes up to the website.
It goes up to the website. Okay, so maybe we ought to look at it for grammar.
Okay, well then we'll review it. I won't catch
But
it,
not tonight.
but you guys might. No, I'm looking for any other new business.
The other thing I have is some of the stuff that we might want to look at for future consideration when we're looking at revisions to the zoning concerning the energy. What I pulled down was information, well, we also got information from outside sent to us for the wind energy. Now, the only thing that I did was I went to the Department of Energy and looked at their survey. Nobody's gonna build any big wind energy devices in our township.
No.
Can they build small ones
Yes,
like that?
there would be homeowner, less than 85-foot
Okay.
ones, like for farm use. Or if somebody just wanted to fool around and put up a little wind generator like they have down at the farm show.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's gonna be any big commercial.
You know where the post office is in Enola?
Yeah,
There's one there, did you ever see it? We drive to Pittsburgh every weekend, up at Somerset, you see that wind farm there.
yeah.
And I gotta tell you, they're never moving anymore.
Well, according to the Department of Energy, audits by independent companies that they pay for, it's not economical to have anyone in our township for commercial energy development. There's not enough wind.
Unless you're sitting right out here.
Well, on
Right
and
on the
off,
tip.
yeah,
It's
but
nice
there's
and
not
breezy.
a, average wind
Yeah. To keep it
velocity.
continual.
I would think up on the mountain there above Hawk Rock,
Yeah,
they might, that might be a place.
but it's broken up by the Susquehanna.
Yeah.
There's not a long, open stretch, okay? The mountains are too ununiform. If you're in a mountain valley leading up to Cove, yeah, but it's, the wind's from the northwest. So it's broken up by Blue Mountain and the other ones before it gets to the Cove Mountain.
I have to tell you something though, if I put it in my side yard, which faces toward the west, It seems to me there's always a gale there. Yeah. Maybe it just seems like that, huh?
Well, again, what they're talking about is the higher wind currents, not the local eddies.
Right.
So I have about 4 or 5 pages there for future looking at for the zoning additions. They would encompass the solar, wind, those outside furnaces. That's where those
Now,
are.
there's a lot of those in town, and
Yeah, and they're gonna be an issue.
Yeah.
yeah.
And what was the fourth one?
Do you have the recycled paper thing
Groundwater.
going on?
Yes.
Okay, that's
Groundwater.
this,
Groundwater
and we use this one.
for
Okay.
geothermal. I don't know to what extent we wanna,
Well,
look at that.
they're not allowed to pump that back down.
Yeah,
I mean, that's sealed, isn't it?
it depends.
Okay.
I
didn't know
don't
there was
have,
an
I don't have a
option.
sealed unit. I got a discharge.
I think that's
I mean,
recyclable
just
stuff
discharge
there.
it back down.
Either reuse the envelopes and just recycle
Okay.
paper.
Doesn't it make your well go dry?
No, my well was rated at 50 gallons a minute, and it only uses 8.
If I have my toilet doesn't stop, it drains my well overnight.
It depends on your well.
I'll wake up next morning and
I
there's no
could, I
water.
could sell water to the tank up on top of the hill there.
I have a groundwater heat pump. I draw the water out of the ground to heat the house and cool it. But I take it to the stream
Well, that's a surface discharge, yeah.
because the the water table in the area, I've got springs all around and the well won't take it back again.
Yeah, same thing with me. I mean, my spring area is only like 20 feet in elevation below my discharge pipe.
See, I thought they would have to
And
use
my
like black
pump,
ball.
the water in the well is at 35.
35 feet?
Yes,
Oh, mine's 300.
at 300, that's when I hit. They only had a 50-gallon a minute pump, so that's what they rated the well at.
Yeah. You got lots of water.
Yeah.
As a little kid, I'd see people drilling wells. And it stood to reason to me, wherever they drilled a well, they got water. That meant we were floating. Down so far that everything was water. You know, I used to worry about it falling in.
I believe so.
Well, some places it has.
Yeah,
It swallowed a guy down in Florida.
That's because the water went away.
Yeah.
Those sinkholes form when the water has a source to get in the way. So it takes everything with it.
Susan was just telling me she was reading an article about somewhere not far from here, not too far from here, I don't think, a stream has started to disappear down a hole.
Oh, there's a lot of that happening over in Cumberland County.
Yeah. That's scary. I would think you'd be interested, Art.
The DEP was giving money away for them to plug those holes so the stream comes back.
You ever read anything on Oak Island? Do you know where the money pit?
No. Where's that located?
Nova Scotia. In Nova Scotia, there's a place called Oak Island. It's been owned by, I think the island's owned by 2 landowners that have finally, both of them have sold their interest in the island to one person. But in the 1800s, kids found a hole in the ground. And they started digging in the hole. And every 10 foot, they'd come across
I know that one.
a layer of oak boards and palm fronds.
Oak boards and palm fronds.
Yeah. And down another 10 foot, there'd be a layer of boards and palm fronds, which palm fronds were not native to Nova Scotia. Palm tree leaves.
Yeah,
They got down, I don't know how far the kids got down before they quit. But since then, they've dug Well, FDR had money in it. John Wayne and some other actors had money in it. They called it the money pit now. Because they dug down to 90 feet. And at 90 feet, they quit. And when they got up in the morning, it was full of water up to a few feet from the top. Because whoever put this pit in had dug trenches out to the ocean. Now here's the ground level, okay? And the ground, and out here the ground drops off at the edge of the island. But they dug trenches out to the island, down that deep, and filled them with stones and then covered it all back up with dirt. Once you dug down this far, the ocean broke through and started filling the pit back up. And here was the water level out here. And I don't know the exact hydraulics or how they exactly did this. But now the ocean's running through these stone channels at the bottom.
Yes.
If you knew what you were doing, you would have dug this pit down this way, like that, dug around where that was. So whoever built this thing had it booby-trapped to fill back up with water so that only that somebody that knew what they were doing would avoid this going to the ocean thing. Now, if you think about that, this had to be done in, what, the 1700s or the 1600s or whatever time frame it was done. That was pretty ingenious and pretty hard to do.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't be able to get back to the cache either.
Well, they would have if they had known to dig around at the certain level.
Yeah.
Dig out around a little bit. But this is in the middle of a 10-foot level. So at 80 foot, you dug sideways for a ways and around and came back over and then went down again. Didn't disturb this area, and so the plug stayed in place. But if you dug straight down, you dug into the channel. So now these two competing landowners have sold their interest. They stopped the digging. But I can't tell you the number of people, like I said, President Roosevelt and movie stars and all kinds of other people invested money into this thing, tried to dig down in it.
Just to see what's at the bottom, where the bottom is and what's at the bottom.
Part of what they think could be in it is the treasure of the Knights Templar.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, is that it's tied,
There's a good possibility that that's because this is so ingenious. It took a lot of engineering to do. I find it ingenious no matter what's at the bottom of it.
Isn't the Masons involved with that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what they
I
turned
was
into.
in Knights Templar, and that was one I never heard about.
Oh, look it up. It's pretty. We've seen a few shows on the History Channel about it.
Yeah, I know, but are they? What are those shows? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Well,
You weren't
the
in the
Knights
right
Templar
chapter.
were definitely a very, very powerful, influential group of men. Now, how they obtained all that power and influence,
Well, in the early days, I heard they had the first banking system.
they did
If you were
develop
going to go
banking.
through the woods, you know, what they would do is you would give your money to them, and they would give you a slip. And when you came out the other end, you would cash that slip in, and that would protect you.
From being robbed.
Make
Yeah.
a motion to
And
adjourn.
that's all I heard, but, you know,
Second
maybe that
motion.
was the basis for millions of dollars, I don't know. I know that, you know, when I see all of these things, because I've been in that group for 40 years, you know, and
Yeah.
it amazes me when I see this stuff on TV.